Hey, welcome back to the Joe Silverback Show. I'm your host, Joe Bunton, and today we're going to respond to one of our subscribers' queries about how to help young men become more confident. We could translate to how to help anybody become more confident, but we'll start with the young man aspect and expand outward from there. So it's a great question. And there's no easy solution, but there is a solution, and the beginning of the solution is to study. The first thing I would do is recommend that 10 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes in the morning and 10 or 15 minutes in the evening at a minimum, but just as a minimum, that any one of us, studies books that are designed specifically to help with confidence. Let's just go through the self-help sections, and that's the beginning. And secondly, I would do something where I would rely on intuition, and I would just, as usual, go through and select anything that interests you that you would enjoy reading. Yes, you can go to YouTube videos and listen to YouTube videos, but there is something a little bit different that transpires when you are alone with your own thoughts, processing what someone else has said. Because then your brain is having to do the work for you, and the more that you have to, and the more you have your brain doing the work for you, the greater your sense of confidence. In essence, all confidence comes from diving in and doing something. So let's take, we used to go to this out in the country every summer with the kids, and there were water holes and cliffs, and all different ages of the kids were jumping from all different levels of the cliffs. What does that do? That gives you an unknown. You dive in, now you know a little bit better. Maybe you hit your foot, maybe you miss hitting your foot, and you see that you just missed hitting your foot. All of these things translate into the brain in terms of confidence in doing it the next time. So I say, dive into study of anything that intrigues you, and the more you read, the greater your confidence becomes. The more you read about also successful people, rewinding way back to when I was in my 20s. Well, even way back before that, I believe that men need older men as mentors, and that could mean they just hand them a book, or direct them to a book, or direct them to some kind of fitness program, or direct them to some kind of mental program, or develop some kind of self-help program. And all of that means that you've got to come to know yourself through study of yourself. So one of the things that is tremendously beneficial, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is a classic. It's an easy read, and it's a positive, uplifting book. It's a motivational book. And also, just Google highly successful people and start with one that interests you. Anybody, just read about their story. There is nobody who is a success story. And why do I say that? Because successful people give us confidence. If we can see that someone else accomplished something through their hard work, the more we read about these people, the more we go, oh, wow, man, maybe if I got off my lazy bum and started doing something, I could become successful at something. So whether you are procrastinating about developing your singing voice, or whether you're procrastinating about developing your writing, or whether you're procrastinating about anything, diving into your video work, The action of doing brings confidence. It brings you out of this perpetual mindset. And one of the things in our, particularly in Western world, in our very, very wealthy, middle class, lazy-minded youth, we have been so spoiled by our parents, and we've been so spoiled by the wealth that's been created, that we live in this vortex of not having to do anything. And it's the worst vortex in the universe. So clipping the umbilical cord to your parents also brings confidence. Clipping the umbilical cord to your parents' credit card brings great confidence. Learning to make your own money, whether it means that you're starving and eating a bowl of rice every day with beans, or like most of us in my generation, we used to go and grab the top ramen, and I would grab a stack of top ramen every week, and one night a week I was eating top ramen, and I think in the daytime I was between peanut butter and jelly, right? Peanut butter protein, that was my mom's generation, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and in the beans and rice scenario. So confidence is gained by a boy deciding that he wants to be a man, and a young man deciding that he wants to be more responsible for himself, and he's actually starting to think about the future of, maybe partnering and caring for another, person in his life. And that requires building something for yourself. Goes back to the Silverback, know thyself. Who am I? What do I want? Where am I going? How am I going to get there? You have to begin by developing the fierceness. And how do you develop your fierceness? Study the Silverback. You can even just study videos and images, and you can meditate on the Silverback in an easy way, and you can visualize yourself taking in the Silverback. Now you might fall in love with the tiger, and the tiger might have energy that connects to you more than the Silverback. Guys, this is creative literature 101. Whatever works to internalize animal, masculine, aggressive, assertive energy, strength, directed toward a sense of purpose. That's all we're talking about. Directed toward a sense of purpose. Obstacles will get in the way. That's where the fierceness comes in. Obstacles will get in the way. That's where the determination comes in. Obstacles will get in the way. That's where reading about other people who have, overcome all kinds of obstacles to achieve things makes us laugh about our own pitiful condition when we say, gee, I can't get myself up off the couch. So, a few stories come to my mind. One guy during the war, survived after their ship sunk, and he was just floating. I can't remember how many days he was out at sea. Maybe it was 28 days before they found him. I don't quote me, but I can't remember the story, and I probably got this from a Dale Carnegie book or any one of the books that I've read over decades, which continue to remind me of how much more difficult other people have it. When the journalist interviewed this guy upon his rescue, they wanted to know, wow, what was the thing that was on your mind most? And he said, water. So namaste, and it's that simple. During the Depression era, there was a journalist who interviewed successful people, and he interviewed survivors of the Depression who had been very wealthy and very successful. And he met this one man who had lost his career. He'd lost all his money, all his wealth. He had lost his home, and he'd lost his family. And when the journalist met him, he was barefoot. And the journalist was intrigued about his barefootedness. And he said, you're smiling, you're happy. What do you owe to your, confidence and feeling good about life when this economy destroyed everything that you had? And the guy said, at the church where I volunteer, there's a guy who has no legs, and he's happy. And so I figured, if I'm blessed to have my limbs, how could I not be happy? And this reading of this story, and it's something that we need to do over and over and over and over again to understand, how is it possible that I could be born into a place with all this great opportunity and all this wealth? I don't even have to barely do anything to survive, and I'm crying about what? My inability to do something with my life. So diving in is helpful. Understanding that if you are born in the United States, more than likely, if you're born into anything beyond the very, very poor of the United States or of Western Europe, you're probably a big crybaby. And you're a crybaby because you've been given so much, and you haven't been made to suffer, and you haven't been made to really go without for too long. Now, if you happen to be somebody who's gone without for too long, this video probably isn't really important for you, because survival is what takes us out of paying attention to whether or not we have confidence. Confidence is the young person who's gone to college and can still live with mom and dad or get monies from mom and dad. That's one avenue. I've known guys that at 18, 19, coming up from Central America, and they're working here, and they've already got their woman pregnant, and they've got a baby, and they probably don't have any more confidence than you do with your high education, and yet they have some survival skills developed that give them confidence because they've been made to work for their money. So those are a couple examples of how we can build confidence. And then I would say, furthering on that, you really need to reach out to somebody who can help mentor you. And as a young man, you may be very, very, very fortunate and be able to get enough of that from your father. You may have gotten enough of that from your church or your work or your university, but most likely you, in this culture, you'll need to study stuff like that we're talking about on here all the time, and then find other people who are older who have been doing this a little bit, doing this for a while, and see if you can join them. See if you can participate. I mean, it never hurts to ask that. But I say that as somebody whose father wasn't around a lot when I was younger, and whose curiosity made me reach out to mentors my whole life, and who understands very much that the culture that I come from, especially with young people, and especially with our young males, there's so much confusion. So you got to sort out the confusion, and you've got to trust yourself. And learning to trust yourself comes from somebody else helping you by pointing the finger back in your face and saying, hey, did you get up this morning and read those 15 pages? Hey, did you take the plunge into what you said you were going to do? Did you did you stick with the commitments that you made? And that's the beginning of gaining confidence. Finding something that you can bite into, clipping the cord from mom and dad, clipping the cord from any other source of financial income but what you have to make on your own, and learning to suffer a little bit while you take the plunge into any kind of development. Develop the brain, develop the heart, develop your economic situation, develop your career path, develop your relationship. Okay? I hope that helps. Write back, give me your stories, give me more questions. I love to respond to specific queries. Okay.